Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about a Necron overlord by the name of Kutlakh. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions, please let me know what they are in the comment section below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. And I really hope that I pronounced the name correctly. If I didn't, help me out in the comment section. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Nemesor Kutlakh. The Imperium of Man has waged many wars against the undying legions of the Necrons, and as more and more tomb worlds awaken, their savagery is made ever more apparent. One Necron overlord that showcases how unrelentingly brutal these ancient warriors can be is Kutlakh, the World Killer. Kutlakh is a Nemesor of the Maynarch dynasty, earning him the title of Mactlan, or the Extinguisher of Life amongst his people. The brutality of this overlord stretches back to the ancient galactic war known as the War in Heaven, when the Necrons battled the Old Ones and before the Necrons entered their great sleep. Kutlakh was regarded as the cruelest and most brutal of all the Nemesors in his dynasty. He was the killer who took particular pleasure in the humiliation of enemy champions and generals in personal combat, be they lords of rival dynasties or the warriors and servants of the Old Ones. A warrior first and foremost, Kutlakh cared little of the intrigues of the dynasty's royal court, openly disdaining his high office, caring only that he was afforded the respect and glory that his conquests were due. It was so that while the reins of political power were held by others within the Maynarch dynasty, the overall battlefield command of its legion was Kutlak's alone. But in truth, this insularity masked a darker secret, for since the final days of the destruction of the Catan, some terrible force had haunted Kutlakh. It has marked and tainted him, turned his triumphs into empty ashes, and threatened the mask of sanity he wore as both a general and a commander. Over time, the cloying, hungering shadow that hung about him darkened, and began to impress itself even on the soulless machine minds of the Necrons around him, making him a pariah even to his own kind. If the ancient legends are to be believed, it was by the hand of this Nemesor that the Catan known as Landugor the Flayer was betrayed to its demise. Although the Maynarch dynasty has long scorned and refuted this claim of betrayal, regardless, some strange, nightmarish taint or even a curse hangs around Kutlakh and his kin. Those unfortunate enough to draw close can feel a terrible malignance and a splinter of madness radiating from the Nemesor's machine body, which claws at their minds and threatens to overwhelm them with insanity. When Kutlakh finally awoke from the great sleep, he was both more and less what he had been. His eye lenses now blazed with an unhallowed cold light, a gaze that even other fellow Necron lords could not easily meet. In battle he is a terrifying figure, whose gliding android shell is blackened as if by fire and bedecked with skulls and bones of his victims. Sempiternal weave coats his necrodermis body. This ancient technology threads the exoskeleton with filaments of phased-hardened adamantium, making the Nemesor's body as strong as Space Marine Terminator armor. The Nemesor carries his dynasty's Obsidax, a specially crafted midnight black hyperblade that vibrates across dimensional states and can slice through a warrior much like an Imperial's power weapon. This once proud and glory-hungry general has now become a nightmarish and near-silent monster, the eroded engrams of his mind driven only by a burning desire to destroy the living and re-establish the rightful supremacy of his dynasty. Once Kutlakh was able to fully awaken his warriors, he began his invasion. He led the Maynarch dynasty into the Imperial Orpheus sector on the edge of the Segmentum Tempestus. The attack was preceded by a communication blackout, which left the Orpheus sector cut in two. The Necrons advanced in two distinct lines of battle, one invading the sector from the outer darkness, with the second entering the sector from the galactic south and the territories of the former Lyax sector. Unable to call for help, the entire eastern half of the Orpheus sector succumbed quickly, with only the Space Marines of the Angels Revenant chapter putting up a true fight, but even their sacrifice was not enough to stop the Xeno advance. 100 solar days after the Necrons' offensive began, the silence was broken, and a tide of astropathic warnings and distress signals reached the Orpheus sector's capital world of Amara Prime. Only now realizing that it had come under attack, the Imperium mobilized its vast armies, but it could not prevent the Drusian subsector from being overrun. To the Imperium's surprise, Kutlakh stopped his advance after 100 solar days. As tradition deemed it, their enemies would be given 2 cycles of the ancient Necron tier moon to prepare themselves to meet their death. The Orpheus sector's Imperial Governor, Calibor Lan, used this time to turn his world, Amara Prime, into a fortress, stripping other worlds of their defenses and transferring them to Amara. Crusading forces and reinforcements allocated to purge the chaos-ridden Chimerium system were rerouted to Amara, including armies drawn from the Necromundan regiments and the fearsome Death Corps of Krieg of the Imperial Guard. Most importantly, perhaps, the entire Space Marine chapter of the Minotaurs, under the chapter master Asterion Moloch, joined the defenders of Amara. And yet this stronghold of Imperial might was laid low in a single solar day, when the Necrons almost entirely destroyed the powerful battle fleet defending the planet, and landed their troops unopposed on their surface. Had it not been for the desperate counterattack of the Minotaur's chapter fleet, the stoic resistance of the Death Corps, total victory would have been achieved. Yet through great sacrifice and bloody determination, Moloch faced Kutlakh on the bridge of his flagship, the Carrion-class tomb ship, Dead Hand. The Minotaur's chapter master and his elite First Company veterans succeeded in wounding the Nemesor, and Kutlakh was able to tear through Moloch's Terminator bodyguards and was able to deal the finishing blow to the Contemptor pattern dreadnought known as the Ancient Geryon when Moloch himself intercepted and engaged him in personal combat. Though equally matched, the combat ended when the tomb ship was hit by a broadside of Imperial firepower, casting Moloch to fall out into the void and leaving the Necron fleet disengaged. Having not anticipated this level of stubbornness amongst their foes, the Necrons retreated with something akin to respect for these vermins which had settled upon their worlds. For the Imperium, however, the loss of the Battle of Amara proved so severe that the sector had to be abandoned and officially dissolved as a Sector Imperialis. The fighting, however, continued as the Undying Legions progressed to the Galactic West, and the Imperium tried to salvage what it could from the remains of the Orpheus sector. Since the devastation in the Orphean War, Kutlakh has continued to lead the legions of the Monarch throughout the entire galaxy. Utilizing the ancient technology of the Dolmen Gates, the Nemesor has spread destruction and conquest, making sure all intelligent races tremble at the mention of the Nemesor Kutlakh, the Godslayer, and the Cardinal Lord of the Monarch. And those were 40 facts on the Nemesor Kutlakh, the World Killer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends on Facebook, Reddit. If they are starting a Necron army, show them this video so that they can either get inspired to create their own Necron Overlord, or they just pick up Kutlakh himself and start painting in the Legion of Monarch color scheme. That's something that's really cool about the new Necron fluff. It has been evolving the past couple of years, so they went from like just the basic Egyptian sci-fi mummies to now you feel like they are their own like empire, and it's kind of cool to see how GW flavors the new lore. Even just this Kutlakh story of like him going to the Imperium and saying, "Hey, you got some time before we go in there and destroy you guys. So either prepare for death or leave." So I thought that was kind of cool. There's more nuance now to the HQ and what role they play within the lore. So creating your own Necron Overlord would be really awesome and really fun, especially if you can tie them in not just to like the Egyptian empires, but any other ancient empires that you might find cool or fun. So like I said, any new players for the Necrons, show them this video, and hopefully what happened to the Plague Marines doesn't happen to the Necrons, where like the Plague Marines last edition, they were getting a bunch of attention because they were coupled with the new Primaris Marines and all of the box sets and the Return of Mortarion and all that kind of stuff, but they kind of died down, and now they're coming back. I heard that they're pretty durable on the tabletop. I mean, they always have been, but they were just kind of boring to play. Just walking them down the line was kind of boring. So we'll see what happens to the Necrons. Hopefully the new models have, good stats for the tabletop. Honestly, I think the new models, they don't look bad. I like the whole crab-looking warriors that came out. Or they're not warriors. I forget what they're called. But I really like that. I don't like the heads of the warriors. Sorry, that was my dog. I don't like the heads of the Necron warriors. They look too cartoonish. What do you guys think? Comment down below. But yeah. Before I ramble anymore, and before my dog interrupts me again, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
always used to put my freedom first in any situation. I knew I never